Thousands of athletes are going for the gold. And as the clear champions of the bathroom, Dollar Shave Club deserves a gold medal. Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to look, smell, and feel your best. Shampoo, body wash, toothpaste, and of course the best razors you'll ever use. You get an amazing high-quality shave every morning from the DSC Executive Razor, plus the true gold standard of any morning routine is their Dr. Carver's Shave Butter. It helps the razor gently glide across your skin. Dollar Shave Club delivers everything to you. That means no more trips to the store, wandering the aisles, hunting for razors, shampoos, and toothpaste, and then playing cashier, scanning and bagging your stuff. Go for the gold. Join Dollar Shave Club today. And for just $5 with free shipping, you'll get the 6-blade Executive Razor plus trial sizes of shave butter, body cleanser, and one wipe Charlie's. Then keep the blades coming for a few bucks more a month. Get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/will. That's dollarshaveclub.com/will.
This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
Look, I get it. One of the best things about sports is that we get to be emotional. We get to be irrational. We get to overreact, and it's all okay. We get to be prisoners of the moment and say we know everything based upon the smallest and tiniest samples of evidence. And it's okay. But then don't turn around and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. It's fine for you to be a prisoner of the moment, but it's fine in that way that it's okay for you to be wrong. Just don't tell me I'm not right. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. The Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 120-112 last night, and they looked phenomenal in the process of doing it. LeBron James deserves all the credit in the world. LeBron James is not only one of the best players on the face of the planet, the best player of a generation, but a guy who has integrated 4 new players into the team in record time. And I have no sarcasm, no facetiousness, no tongue-in-cheek nature of saying he is phenomenal. It is amazing how quickly Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance have been integrated into that team. George Hill running the point. This team looks so much better than the one they fielded a week ago. And that is all due credit to LeBron James, the leader of that team, the general on the floor that's spacing it out and creating wide open shots for all of those guys. But it is not acceptable. It is not reasonable. You cannot sit here today and look me straight in the eye and tell me, Cavs, locked to win the East. Cavs, real threat to take on the Golden State Warriors. Get out of here. Here's the thing, and my indignation you hear in my voice is because the rebuttal to me is that I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know basketball. Fine. I love that homonym attacks. They're all over the place, by the way. Pat Beverley, great player for the Los Angeles Clippers. Actually, huge fan of Pat Beverley's game. Tweeted at me just about an hour ago. Hey, well, he's actually tweeting to Stephen A. Smith about me, so he's telling on me. I love how people tell on me. It's like, who are my principals, Cerruti? We've got Stephen A. I think Dan Lebatard is probably one of my principals.
Definitely.
Sarah Spain's one of my principals.
Yep.
I get told on to these people. Somebody quick run to the principal's office and tell them what Will's saying. So Pat Beverley's run to Stephen A. Smith's office and said, I'm convinced that Will Cain knows nothing about basketball. Nothing. Just reading stats. All right? I don't know anything about basketball. Why is that? Because I say pump the brakes. Because I say after 2 games, you can't rewrite the Cleveland Cavaliers' future and pin them in. To hell with your pencil. Rip the eraser off, boys. Pin them in to the NBA Finals. And I've heard some today saying, you know what? This team, this Cavs team, this one could give the Golden State Warriors a real run for their money. And you know why? This is the part where you know basketball if you say stuff like this. This team, athletic, young. Did you know that Rodney Hood is 6'8"? That's the kind of stuff. Oh, and then you say, I know basketball. So Donald Trump has popularized this, and I should have learned my lesson a year or two ago. Tell people what to think about you. So from now on, every time I'm on First Take or on this radio program, I'm going to say, let me tell you something. I know basketball. Because then they start to believe it. No matter what comes out of your mouth afterwards, like pointing out that Rodney Hood is 6'8", all of a sudden you're like, son of a bitch. Did you hear that? Rodney Hood's 6'8". That guy knows basketball. What's wrong wrong. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Let me explain to you something about knowing basketball. I know this. The Cleveland Cavaliers cannot, within the realm of possibility, under no circumstances, 0% chance, 0% probability, maintain the run they've been on over the last 2 weeks. Here's a question as you're driving in your car. Are the Cavs better than the Golden State Warriors? Just easy question. Are they better than the Warriors? I think most people know the answer to this question. Most people who retain neurons firing between their brain cells, who have some tether to reality. So really, are the Cavs, 2 games in, better than the Warriors?
Not even close.
Okay. Then how do you explain this? Is this sustainable? They're number 1 in the league in field goal percentage over the last 2 games. They're number 1 in the league in 3-point percentage over the last 2 games. They're number 1 in the league in opponents' field goal percentage over the last 2 games. They're number 1 in the league in opponents' 3-point percentage over the last 2 games. They're holding opponents to 28% 3-point shooting. They are phenomenal defensively, and they are shooting the lights out against the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Will that continue the rest of the season? Because if your answer is yes, then you better start telling me how they're better than the Golden State Warriors. Because they're blowing the Warriors out on all of these stats. All of them. So what's real here? Is that sustainable? Or are you overreacting? Listen to Stephen A. Smith this morning on First Take. Bubba, play this for me. This is what he said about the Cavs.
It's just 2 games. A lot of people talk about there's nothing to get too excited about. I don't look at it that way. I don't view things that way. I know basketball. I know talent.
Pause it right there.
Oh,
see that's what you do. You say, I know basketball. I'm going to do that in every topic. Guys, brace, buckle in, put your seatbelt on, and get ready to get mad, because on every topic, I'm going to verify for you that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm one of the foremost experts on it. So if the topic conversation is opera, before I launch into it, I'm going to tell you something like this. Now, let me tell you, I know opera. If I say that 5 times, you'll believe me. Keep going.
I don't look at it that way. I don't view things that way. I know basketball. I know talent when I see it. I know when talent is gelling. And I'm saying Cleveland is something to look forward to. I'm of the mindset right now, they'll cakewalk through the East.
Cakewalk.
Because when you add 3 25-year-olds and an experienced point guard like George Hill, when you have that at your disposal, when you have that available to you, you have upgraded exponentially.
Yes,
and if you've done that, how are we to look at the rest of the East? In Boston, Kyrie they don't have any depth. Toronto with DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, you don't know whether you can trust them.
More than this Cavs team.
The Washington Wizards got emotional issues. Who's going to stand in the way of the Cavs? The Cavs are going, if they cakewalked last year through the Eastern Conference, why wouldn't they do it this year?
Because it's an entirely
Kyrie's
new
in
team.
Boston, that's all you got. That ain't good enough.
No. See, I know logic. So listen, this is some logic for you right here. The Cavs team that cakewalked last year is not the same Cavs team as this year. The Cavs team that cakewalked last year and the one that's made the one that's made several straight NBA finals by going through the East had Kyrie Irving on it. This one doesn't have Kyrie Irving on it. This team got put together last week and has 2 games under its belt. The Toronto Raptors have a full season of leading the Eastern Conference in victories. I don't understand how the Cavs are the tenuous argument here. The Cavs are the tenuous proposition. This is the one you're banking on 2 games of evidence. This is the one you're saying you're so sure of. This is the one you're saying is the lock to win the East. And I don't know basketball, that I am crazy, I'm hot taking by pointing out, you don't. J.R. Smith is shooting 70%. He's shooting 69% from 3 over the last 2 games. Is that going to continue? Rodney Hood, 52 and 50, by the way. Jordan Clarkson is just blowing it up. Jordan Clarkson shooting 62% and 57% from 3. Is that going to happen for the rest of the season? So I'm the one that's crazy because I'm pointing out, you know what? After 2 games, I don't think you can pin them in. Pat Beverley, I said, you know what, Pat? I don't think you can extrapolate 2 games. He says, give me true human facts, not just stats. We need to get Pat on the phone. Let's see if we can get Pat Beverley on the phone. You disagree with me? You think I don't know basketball? I welcome you onto my show. Always. You sitting at home, 888-729-3776. You playing hoops in the NBA. If I don't know what I'm talking about, this should be easy for you. Here's Pat Beverley. I said, you know what? He's criticizing me using stats like the fact that J.R. Smith's shooting his brains out and this team's number one in every category. He says, in order for you to come to a conclusion, you have to factor in everything. The pressure off of the guys after the trades, the feeling of a fresh start. I don't have to relocate, yada, yada, yada. All that have nothing to do with stats. Okay, fine. I don't think my whole argument has to do with stats. I know logic. Logic is this doesn't keep going the way it's going. All right, I got to take a break. I got so much more on this. Let's see if we can get Pat Beverley on the phone, okay? Give him a ring, Rudy. Can you do that? He just followed me. I DM'd him. He said he might be up for it. I'm going to see if he can do it. Some issues over time zones. We'll see if we can work it out. All right, maybe that's straight ahead. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Hi, everyone. Will Cain here. Support for the Will Cain podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/will. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030. All right, I'm direct messaging with Patrick Beverley here as we speak. Okay, so I don't know if Pat's listened to the program or not, but he's certainly aware of some of the things I've said about the Cleveland Cavaliers. By the way, it's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Pat says I don't know basketball. That's cool. That's fine. I say come on my show and give it to me face-to-face. Maybe I'll have my 1.4 moment. Maybe you can come get me and discredit me. So I DM Pat Beverley and I say, come on. And he's cool. I'm cool. He says, can we do it tomorrow, same time tomorrow? I don't want to take away from the team. That's awesome. Great. Yeah, the Clippers play the Boston Celtics tonight in Boston. Here's the thing, as I've said all along, okay, if you think that I'm full of it, if you think I'm nothing but hyperbole and hot takes, if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, well then jump, Otis. Come on. I'm here. I mean, it's Cletus, right? What was it from? What is that? It's from the Eddie Murphy movie. You want to jump? Jump. Jump, Cletus. The clumps. Something like that. I can't remember. Dang it. Anyway, do it here. This is where we do it. Pat says that I'm not using Pat Beverley of the Los Angeles Clippers, who's a phenomenal player and one of the kind of players that I actually like. Gritty. Got all in Lonzo Ball's grill after LeVar Ball talked him up. Says, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know basketball because I use stats. That I don't know true human facts. Here's the thing. I have a few true human facts that have nothing to do with stats. Team sports, all of them, are extremely reliant on chemistry. How will you gel? How will you come together? How will you stay together over the pressures, over the monotony of a long season? At this point, it would be half a season for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then the grind and glare of the playoffs. How about this? The grind, the glare, and the pressure of LeBron James. We know nothing about how Rodney Hood will respond to that. We know zero about how Jordan Clarkson will deal with that situation. Jordan Clarkson, by the way, looked phenomenal last night. Jordan Clarkson, I mean, these are stats now, so I don't want these to undercut. Me using stats could completely undercut the idea that I know basketball. But Jordan Clarkson shot 60% last night, and it wasn't just the shooting. He was making passes to LeBron. Chemistry-based passes. Finding LeBron, darting through the lane. It looks like that marriage, that partnership is going to be great, and it could unlock amazing potential in Jordan Clarkson. In 2 games. 2 games. So whether or not I know the Cavs aren't going to continue to shoot like they're shooting or defend like they're defending, by the way, Tim Legler also thinks they look really good on the defensive end.
They had a lot of one-dimensional offensive players. Everything built around LeBron James' greatness, and then a bunch of guys that did one thing. When you add guys like Jordan Clarkson, you add Hood, these are guys that can, George Hill, they can make plays off the dribble, they can spot up, catch, and shoot, they can slash, they can find people. Defensively, it's night and day what we saw from this team in the first half of the year.
The key word in Leg's entire analysis is can. They can spot and shoot. They can drive to the basket. They can defend. That's undoubtedly true. But can and will are 2 different verbs. Can and will are the difference in what we're talking about. I know they can. We'll see if they will under pressure throughout the season, in the playoffs, playing with LeBron. Will dictate, not me, Will Cain, but the future will dictate whether or not you can lock them in. How is it I'm the hot take saying pump your brakes after 2 games? Also, by the way, Pat Beverley says he's on for tomorrow. So Pat Beverley will be on the show tomorrow. We can have this debate mano y mano. That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. I'll give Pat this, man. I give him respect and credit. You think something, you bring it to me face to face, man to man. All right? That's respect. That's how you do it. I'm behind Twitter. Will in Dallas. That makes 2 of us. What's up, Will?
Will from Dallas.
Will from Sherman.
Will. First off, quit first name dropping Pat Beverley like he's coming on your show tomorrow. All right? $1,000 says he's not coming.
Well,
2,
I mean, whoa. If I'm going to name drop, you think of Pat Beverley's the name I'm going to drop? You slow down, Will. From Dallas. Listen, if I'm going to name drop, you think Pat Beverley's the name I'm going to come dropping around?
My boy, Pat.
I said,
my boy, Pat.
Did I say my boy?
Oh, yeah. It was gross.
Hold on. Watch this, Will. Maybe my friend Charles Barkley will call him tomorrow. Maybe my boy.
Charles?
Oh yeah. We're big. We're tight.
Well, hey, look, Will.
No. I'm out, dude. You put it here. I'm going there.
This is just one Will talking to another Will.
What's up, Will?
The team with LeBron goes to the finals, man. It's history.
That's deep. That's deep. I didn't account for that. I didn't think about that. What? Is he on, or did you pipe him down, Bubba?
7 years in a row, Will.
Did you pipe him back up, and that's where he was in this thing? Man, here's how. Watch this. This is how you become an expert. I know basketball. 7 years in a row for LeBron James. The team that has LeBron James goes. There's a bunch of fools out there that know basketball, if that's all you got to say. Ben in Virginia. What's up, Ben? You there, Ben?
Hello?
Yes, Ben, sir.
My name is Justin, but not Ben. Anyways.
Sorry about that, Justin.
No, you're all right, man. Man. The Cleveland Cavaliers are not going to make the playoffs.
The Cleveland, whoa.
Or not make the finals, NBA finals. They're not going to.
You were interesting a minute ago. Now you're saying the same thing everybody else is saying.
No. Now hear me out, because the last caller before just said, yeah, every team that has LeBron makes the finals.
Right.
But let me tell you where you're wrong.
Well, I didn't say it. He did. You're telling Will and Dallas.
Well, he did. Well, sorry. I'm fighting with the other Will now. Right. He got me all worked up.
Right. Me too.
Anyways, the reason that they're not going to make it is because none of these players have playoff experience other than LeBron, JR, and maybe a few others.
Shut your mouth, Justin. You're starting to talk rationally. You shush that. I know basketball. You don't. What do you mean? No playoff experience? I want you real human facts, Justin. I'm going to give you one more second.
Now, the Raptors, they're, the top of the East. They're not going to show up, but I still believe they might be able to get over that hump and get past the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's when LeBron leaves for Los Angeles. All
right, Justin. You just talking too much sense. You obviously don't know basketball. That's the other thing. The Toronto Raptors side of this equation, if you want to pretend like you know basketball, tell everybody you do. Tell everybody you know it. Mention LeBron James. Say 7 times. And say the Toronto Raptors are always strike out. Don't pay attention to what the Raptors do this year, how they're playing this year. Just say you know basketball. That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right. We got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Good Lord Almighty, Charles Haley lit them up. And I think he might be right. Wonder if Dianna Russini agrees with that. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Mike Golick here. ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
So, that guy was right. I said my boy Pat, Cerruti. I said my boy Pat when referencing Pat Beverley, the guy who's been insulting me all morning.
You took it a little too far.
I didn't even know it came out of my mouth that way. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio. Pat's not my boy. He's been insulting me all day.
We got a little too comfortable with him. I get it.
Okay.
You guys are DMing now.
We are DMing.
Doesn't mean you're best friends.
Yes.
There are some doubts about whether he'll actually be on tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll tell you, he put $1,000 that Pat Beverley wouldn't come on the show tomorrow. Maybe Pat has some cojones. Will from Dallas. Maybe he's willing to take it to me. Maybe he will. I'll tell you who is my boy. Huh? Booger McFarland. Booger texted in and said, Otis. It was the Nutty Professor and it was Cletus. You want to jump? Jump, Cletus. Jump, Cletus, not Otis. Booger's got me there. It was Cletus. Oh, well. I'm a D-bag. You can laugh into the microphone.
Sorry.
You laugh because it's true.
I think that's what it was. It was a genuine, authentic laugh of, well, at least he's very self-aware.
Oh, I said so many nice things about Dianna Russini, too. ESPN NFL host, reporter Dianna Russini in studio giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Can we talk Cowboys?
Ooh, you love them Cowboys.
Everybody loves the Cowboys.
You like the Cowboys. I don't.
You dislike the Cowboys?
No, I'm kidding. I'm an objective.
Now I'm going to start discounting those reports.
I'm an objective sports journalist. I have no opinion. I like every single team. All of them.
Are they going to get rid of Des Bryant?
No.
They're not. I think your colleague Dan Graziano is it Todd Archer? Somebody's predicting that this is going to come to a head and the Cowboys are going to cut Des Bryant.
Here's my thought on it. This isn't me reporting. This is just my how I think it's going to unfold. I think that they're going to talk to Des and Des is going to say, "Hey, listen, I deserve this, this, and this. I'm not taking a pay cut." And they're going to say, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you some incentives here. If you believe in yourself this much, if you're going to do this, this, and this, then we'll pay you eventually, but you need to hit those marks." Because I think Dez's presence on this team and what he's able to do. You've been to Cowboys games as people listening that are fans at home watching on TV can see what he brings to this Cowboys team. And let's not forget, he's got these young guys. He's got Dak Prescott, a young quarterback who's impressionable as they come right now because he is young, and all of this success has been so new to him. That having somebody like Dez to help him walk through some of this process. And, I think maybe initially you hear Dez helping somebody out through character and helping develop a young guy. It probably sounds a little strange, but I have learned from covering this league, the guys that have been the biggest problems in their career when they're younger, they grow up. And their experience and the way they view things is more valuable than any coach or other player, the same age of someone like Dak Prescott. So I think the value that Dez brings to that team is worth keeping him on top of the fact what he's able to do.
At $16 million?
At $16 million. Again,
really?
Do I think...
You think they're going to try to present this incentive deal?
I think present the incentive deal is probably...
Would he do that?
Because he doesn't want to go anywhere else. Because I think Des Bryant wants to stay in Dallas. He has a life there. It works for him, and he knows what he's going to get with the Cowboys. I think for a lot of players like him, the thought of going to a different organization can be scary. Yeah, you can say the money thing is always enticing, but when that's all this is a guy who, him and Tony Romo, I think back to when I was younger watching them. That's all I think of is that connection. And I don't think Des Bryant wants to be anywhere else but in Dallas.
I hope you're right. All right, you have some...
You want to keep him there?
No, well, yeah, but at a reduced price. I want to...
How much of a cut?
As low as it can get, because I'm a fan of the team. I'm not a fan of the player's pocketbook. I want my team to achieve. In order to achieve, I do think you want Des Bryant on your roster, but you want the financial flexibility to get some other players as well.
All right, so if you're in New Orleans and you're Drew Brees, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to bring him back. Both sides seem to be in agreement, but is he going to break the bank? Is he a kind of guy you think that should break the bank to bring back a guy like Drew Brees who just proved at 39 years old that he can still play?
If that's what it takes, the Saints, yes, break the bank for Drew Brees.
Break the bank for Drew Brees, yet lose out on building.
Well, I think the consistency I'm giving you here is that from a fan's perspective, this is why we so often end up rooting for management, because getting players at cheap prices allows the team to get other assets. And our goal as fans is to have the team be better as a whole, right? We don't root for players to get rich. I'm happy if there was no cap and you could just do that, everybody got rich and the whole team got better, that'd be awesome. But that's why I think that's one of the reasons fans end up rooting for management in these negotiations.
By the way, Jimmy Garoppolo's $26 million guaranteed money kicks in today. Just to throw in that reminder of how much money he's getting.
Mark Teixeira hung out with me for the last 2 days, and the whole time when I looked at Mark Teixeira sitting in the seat right now, all I saw was 3 numbers. 180, 180 million. The whole time. When he was talking, it's a weird thing. I heard like just cash registers all the time. Like his words were like, da-ding, da-ding.
You know what's so funny is I'm a Yankees fan, or at least I grew up one. And before I came on and I saw some of your show, I swear, I thought the same thing when I saw him. I'm like, gosh, that guy cleaned us out. He's my colleague now, but damn.
What do you got for me on Johnny Football?
So this is really interesting, right? So most people know the news by now. And if you don't, Johnny's back in football, meaning he's going to be playing in this football scouting program in Texas in the spring. And a lot of people don't know this, but you have to pay $350 to be part of this league. They pay for room and board, but you're out there for 3 weeks. You do not get paid, but it's a way for you to be able to go out there and have scouts see you, see different members of different organizations, seeing if you still have it. And I just kept thinking when I saw that news today, this is a guy that went in the first round. Obviously, Heisman Trophy winner, goes first round, has come full. I don't necessarily know if this is full circle, but has been down a pretty difficult path, and now it's so bad that he's paying to play basically at this point. And I actually think it's the right thing for him to do. He said all the right things this week on GMA and other sports podcasts that he went on. And I think this move for him, in terms of seeing where he's at, is the best, even though he says he's not even really football fit just yet.
All right. I think it's good for him, too. I want to see Johnny Football play.
I want to see RG3 do something like this.
Yes, I want to see that,
right?
too.
He walks around here, walking around the media, talking to everybody. He wants to get back in. We're seeing his Instagram with him throwing footballs at trees. He wants to play. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think you get over the ego. You say, I'm not playing anywhere else. Throwing a football with other players is better than throwing at trees with your wife cheering you on.
I'd love to see RG3.
Did you see that Instagram video?
No.
That's what. So you have no idea what I'm referencing?
No.
That's the best video on the planet. I watched it 50 times. It's basically RG3 with his fiance or wife on vacation, and she's like, hit that tree, and he's just throwing and hitting the tree. Like, yeah, it's time to probably play against players. Against you, exactly. His accuracy was awesome, though. I'll give him that.
Dianna Russini in studio giving us the straight talk. Okay, I just won $1,000. Did I just win $1,000?
Technically, it was tomorrow, right?
No. I just won $1,000. Okay, hang on the line, everybody. Don't get out of your car because I just won $1,000. Patrick Beverley's on the line. It's Will Cain on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Remember that time that Richard Sherman went on First Take and went after Skip Bayless? It's infamous around here. Everybody's seen it. Or how about when Jalen Rose brought up 1.4? These are things I shouldn't be talking about, but I am. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. There were infamous moments in First Take's history where an athlete went directly to a talker and said, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you're about to hear one of those moments. Maybe. We'll see. I might have a little bit of a fight in myself. You might hear one of those moments right now because a little bit earlier today I was tweeted. Well, I don't know if I was tweeted or Stephen A. Smith was tweeted, but LA Clippers guard Pat Beverley told on me to Stephen A. Smith that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to basketball. Nothing. Multiple exclamation points. And because Pat Beverley has backbone and spine, and you could have seen it on the basketball court if you didn't know already, I knew that. But I didn't know he also had backbone and spine when it comes to criticism and face-to-face confrontation. He has that. He's now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, Pat? Good to meet you.
Brother. How are you, brother?
I'm good. All right. Just go, man. Why am I full of it? Why do I not know what I'm talking about?
Nah, you know what? And it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault. And it's not only you. It's a bunch of people out there. For people to understand what goes on in the NBA with players, everyday games, being hot from the field, being cold, going through normal things of life. In order for the outside of people from basketball who don't play basketball, in order for you all to understand how it really is made up, it kind of goes unnoticed sometimes.
Okay, Pat, I hear what you're saying. There's limitations to what I can know. That's undoubtedly true. But you said it today. You didn't say it yesterday. So what did I say today that you're like, Will has no idea what he's talking about?
Oh, you spoke about the Cavs, and they won't come out the East.
Okay, now hold on. Let me tell you something. If I ever take you on one-on-one, if you ever hear me say I can take Pat Beverley one-on-one, you should laugh at me and mock me out. But when it comes to what I say and why I say it and the reasons I have behind it, I know what I'm doing now. So I said they're not a lock to win the East. And I think that's a really very reasonable conclusion. The Cavs, with 2 games under their belt with this new lineup, cannot be considered a lock to win the East.
I mean, and of course I'm not playing this year, so I'm able to be a fan this year.
Okay.
And any basketball player will tell you, no matter what team, and it's hard for us to say it, and as basketball players, it's hard for us to say it, but as basketball players, we come to the truth. Any team LeBron James on is a lock to come out of anywhere.
Oh, Pat, man, you do sound like a fan. Come on, LeBron James and a bunch of nobodies.
Except in the West, because the West is a different monster. But in the East, and you have to give every team out there the respect. Like Brad Stevens has done a hell of a job with Boston. Toronto has been playing their ass off. Like, I mean, it's a lot of good teams, But I mean, you know, it is LeBron James.
Okay.
And people forget this, right? And that's why I think history always repeats itself, right?
Okay.
No matter what happens in life, history always repeats itself. So a championship team is only a couple of superstars and amazing role players.
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing role players. It's been like that since back in the day. It's been like that since the Chicago Bulls. It's been like that since the Golden State Warriors. I mean, there are superstars. You have your superstars. You have guys.
But what is
really,
that on the Cavs,
really,
Pat? Are you saying that's LeBron and Kevin Love and these new guys are the amazing role players?
Yeah. I'm and when I mean role players, that's not.
I know what you mean.
Understating the next player up, because I consider myself a role player. I consider myself a really, really good role player.
And you are. So, and I don't think that's an insult.
Right.
I know what you're saying.
Right. So it's no insult to anyone, but the facts are facts. You have LeBron James, and you can tell.
Okay, hold on for a second, Pat. I'm sorry. Time out. 1 second. I want to let you know this because of the way radio works. At 3:54 in 20 seconds, I won't have control, and we're going to go to commercial. So that means we got 20 seconds. I mean, 2 minutes here.
Okay.
I want to tell you this. I hear you, okay? And I've had callers tell me the same thing. Well, what you're doing to me is telling me this. I don't know basketball, but the rebuttal is simply LeBron James and amazing role players. And all I'm saying, you asked for me on Twitter, real human facts, right? Don't tell me that they're on this amazing shooting streak, that there's no way they can continue, that they're also playing amazing defense, by the way, Pat, which I don't think will continue at this level. It may be good, but it's not going to be this good. What I'm saying to you is this, that here's the real human facts that we don't know yet. Chemistry, pressure, monotony. How will they do over the course of the season, and how will they do in the playoffs? Man, we don't have any idea yet.
So why should we take the negative point? Why shouldn't we take the positive route?
Well, what I would say to that is we do know some things about, for example, Toronto. Now, they don't have LeBron James. That's true. But, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry with some role players have been the number one seed in the East throughout this entire season, or until recently they got up there ahead at Boston. I think that's the rebuttal.
No. I mean, if anyone from Toronto saying these people are getting ready for LeBron James, like no disrespect, like people are preparing to try to beat the Cavaliers, no matter what place they're in.
Okay, real quick, because we have a minute. Was the team that they had a week ago also not LeBron James plus role players? Didn't that also fit the criteria? No. I don't agree, because IT needs the rock. You got to give him the rock. Right.
But George Hill doesn't.
Right.
Rodney Hood in the second unit, Clarkson in the second unit. I mean, you put them in a legitimate chance of being one of the teams to come out the East.
Okay, I hear you, man. I got 20 seconds. I just want to tell you this while I've got you. Okay, you're right. They're better than they were. That's for sure. I respect the hell out of you for coming on and giving it to me face to face, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me, baby.
All right, take care. It's Pat Beverley on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Shaun White's in hot water. Straight ahead. Will Cain Show.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast.
Thousands of athletes are going for the gold. And as the clear champions of the bathroom, Dollar Shave Club deserves the gold medal. Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to look, smell, and feel your best. Shampoo, body wash, toothpaste, and of course, the best razors you'll ever use. You get an amazing, high-quality shave every morning from the DSC Executive Razor, plus the true gold standard of any morning routine is their Dr. Carver's Shave Butter. It helps the razor gently glide across your skin. Dollar Shave Club delivers everything to you. That means no more trips to the store, wandering the aisles, hunting for razors, shampoos, and toothpaste, and then playing cashier, scanning and bagging your stuff. Go for the gold. Join the Dollar Shave Club today. And for just $5 with free shipping, you'll get the 6-blade Executive Razor plus trial sizes of shave butter, body cleanser, and one wipe Charlie's. Then keep the blades coming for a few bucks more a month. Get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/will. That's dollarshaveclub.com/will.
This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
Big props to Pat Beverley for just calling into the show and telling me all the ways in which I don't know what I'm talking about. Telling me all the ways in which I'm wrong. That's what this show should be about. That's what I want. Man, I want a life. I want a world. And I've told the guys behind the glass, if it doesn't happen, I'm seceding. I'm going to create an underground society. We're going to find an island somewhere in a beautiful place, and we're going to call it New Texas. And we're going to go there. And in New Texas, everybody's allowed to disagree at all times. And no one is ever allowed to be offended. That's the only rules in New Texas. Anything else goes. You cannot be offended, rule number 1. Rule number 2, if you disagree, you must say it. That's what I want. We'll just start there, and we'll build New Texas from those 2 points forward. So Pat Beverley has already brought what I want New Texas to be about by coming on the Will Cain Show and disagreeing with me. And because I love it so much, I'm bringing in somebody else to disagree with me.
Maybe.
Maybe. That's true. I shouldn't make assumptions.
I already disagree with you in that I don't want to secede somewhere to New Texas. Maybe like New York is what we could call it.
It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. And the voice you hear is my friend. And since the day I have known her, adversary when it comes to agreement, Kate Fagan of espnW and OTL. You've been filling in for Bob Lee, I've noticed, in the big chair this week.
That's right. I'm bringing all the brains to that chair. Not that Bob, I mean, like, additional.
Oh, taking shots at Bob Lee.
No. I don't know that he listens to the Will Cain Show down in Key West, Florida, so I guess I could take shots at Bob Lee.
He probably does, because that's the island I'm renaming New Texas. Key West. You know what? You're right. I shouldn't assume what your opinion should be on this, on Shaun White. Because, by the way, in our relationship, and the minute people put you and I together on the air, there was assumptions made, and assumptions made by you and I about who each other were, what each other would think, and that's one of the most awesome things about getting to know you is getting past those assumptions. Here's the deal. Shaun White won his 3rd Olympic gold medal for snowboarding last night, his 3rd in 4 different Olympic cycles. He takes the podium after an amazing run where he secured the gold medal, and he's met with a press conference, a room full of reporters. And he is asked at that press conference this question right here. Listen.
Matt Gutman, ABC News. Shaun, over the past couple of days, the sexual harassment allegations against you by Lena Zawide have resurfaced. Lena, are you concerned that they are going to tarnish your legacy?
Honestly, here to talk about the Olympics, not, gossip. So, but I don't think so. I am who I am, and I'm proud of who I am, and my friends, love me and vouch for me, and I think that stands on its own. So
absolutely.
But so you're saying that the allegations against you are gossip?
I think we're here to talk about the gold medal and the amazing day we had today. Thank you. So if we don't have another question, why don't we go ahead and just pass the mic? Thank you so much.
I'd like it to be addressed just a little bit. I mean,
like I said, I think we're here to talk about the gold medal today and the amazing day we just had.
I feel like I addressed it.
The third voice you hear the voice of Matt Gutman from ABC News, Shaun White, and the third voice you hear is Shaun's PR representative. Now, here's the quick story, Kate, and I know you're aware of it, but sometime in, I believe it's in April of 2016, there are allegations, or in the year of 2016, there are allegations from a drummer in Shaun White's band. You heard her name there, Lena, and I'm forgetting the last name, but of sexual harassment. Mm-hmm. And the details are gross. They include, I don't know, sticking his hands down his pants and then pulling his hand out and putting it in people's face, her face, text messages, and so forth. They're not good. They're not cool in any way. That case, those allegations were settled, I believe, about a year ago in 2017 between Shaun White and the claimant in this issue. Here's my thing. Why does this come up in this situation? Why is it reporters want to ask this question at this time? Now, yesterday, when we talked about LeVar Ball in this program, I very passionately defended the idea that all topics are on the table at all time. Society and people and families and friends, they don't benefit from not talking about things. Talk about things. But I still think there's time and place and appropriateness. And I don't get why here, why now, why after you make your gold medal run, that's the conversation.
I think the part of Shaun White's story that, in my mind, makes it acceptable to ask this question is how Shaun White is part of the larger machinations and machine of NBC and how they're going to portray Shaun White on that broadcast. So there's point one in that if we're going to go over the top on Shaun White, and if you watch that broadcast and if you follow the coverage of Shaun White over the years, specifically at the Olympics, there is some hero making that goes on. That is the complete antithesis and opposite of diving into a certain allegation. It's like going overboard to build him up as a glossy boy hero. Now, I think the reason that the question is okay and relevant at the Olympics, even though it happened a year ago, is because Shaun White does not participate in a sport where we've seen him day in and day out, or 9 months a year every season. Shaun White's relevance happens every Olympics. To me, anything that happens between last Olympics in Sochi and these Olympics with Shaun White are things that the mainstream Olympics fan are not going to know about. So we listen to a broadcast with Shaun White where they pretty much only cover him and don't even really cover a lot of the other snowboarders and build him up and tell this like redemption story without mentioning it. And I'm not saying they need to mention it, but if we're at some point during that press conference going to be able to at least introduce the opposite side of the view of Shaun White, I think that's acceptable in that particular moment.
Okay, to counterbalance American hero image making, and because this is the time when he's relevant, because he's not relevant year-round. Those two reasons make it okay in this press conference to bring it up. He goes for a gold, he gets the gold, he snowboards his rear off, he goes into a press conference room, and that's what makes this question okay, those two reasons.
Yeah, because I think that we've had discussions about how we're going to communicate about NFL players who have had allegations against them. And I think at least most rational people have come to the conclusion that I don't need you to tell me about an NFL player's past every single time they touch the ball on the football field. Certainly, I think it's okay during the very first game to say a certain draft pick had this in his backstory. But I don't need it every time going forward. But for Shaun White, even though it happened a year ago, this is his opening day for a lot of people.
Okay, but hold on now. Listen, this is Michael Eaves. He's a SportsCenter anchor here at ESPN. And he said this. I think this is sound. When did he say this, Rudy? Maybe last night? Okay. I want to play the half of it because it's too long, but listen to the first half of this right here.
Yeah.
That whole thing came together pretty quickly here in South Korea because when we first got here last week, there was a snowboarding press conference. Shaun White was there, Chloe Kim, the whole team was there. Not one question was raised to Shaun White in that regard. Christine Brennan had a article in the USA Today recently that brought that situation to light.
All right, so a press conference a week ago, not right after he just won a gold medal, and it's not brought up at all.
Right. I mean, I'm not here to like defend the reporters who didn't ask that question in that.
I guess.
Well, I think what I'm knowing you, it's a leading question because you have a specific opinion about why.
No, but I'm hearing you out, and I think both of your points are actually. I get both of your points.
But let me actually, because I think if I just leave it at that, if I'm just defending not just the right, but to me, the editorial decision to ask that question.
It's about appropriateness, not right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think I should say that I don't fall into the camp that I think nobody should be rooting for Shaun White. I long ago abandoned trying to make some sort of connection between creativity and athletic ability and any sort of off the field or off the stage behavior because when I asked myself what the line was, I mean, I'm turning on Ignition by R. Kelly, and yet I'm not going to watch a certain football player. Like, I couldn't find that line. And finally, I just had to reconcile with myself that I wasn't going to make a judgment call. So I'm not here to say nobody should be rooting for Shaun White. I totally understand rooting for him.
Did you and I have this debate, by the way, when Peyton Manning had his retirement ceremony? We had a show together.
Yes,
Will
we had
and
a
Kate.
similar discussion about why his retirement ceremony presser was an okay or not okay time to ask a question.
And they were asking him about similar stuff, right?
The allegations at Tennessee from his college
And I think
years.
we're on the same lines. I was like, why now? Like, this is not the time. And I don't know, at that time, were you like, yeah, this isn't now?
I think we disagreed at that point as well, too.
And so in the end, you do feel like this is an appropriate time for the two reasons you gave me to ask that question.
Yes.
Okay.
But I do think that there's a lot, like, I know that we have limited amount of time here, but I think it's more of a discussion too about where we're going, like, with free speech and our media coverage, and that Shaun White was kind of boxed in on an inability to really, like, dive into this topic in any way.
What do you mean, boxed in by who?
Well, I don't think that we're actually, like, if Shaun White had engaged in that topic, actually engaged in answering that question and offered up any sort of interesting, reasonable, rational response, I don't think that most of America would have heard it as that anyway. So I think he's kind of burned if he does or if he doesn't in that regard.
Okay, not just because I like you. I don't think you're wrong on your explanation, but I don't think it's the whole picture. I think there's other reasons people think it's okay to ask that question at that moment.
I knew you were holding back on me.
No, I wasn't setting you up to try to beat you. I really wasn't. That's why I invited you, not to have a you versus me thing, but like I want to get all angles on this conversation because I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's cool to bring it up at all at this time. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is now more easy than ever. All right, I'm going to lay out why I don't think it's cool to ask that question at this time. And I'm going to say something else I don't think is cool. I don't think it's cool to compare Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield. I think it's unfair, and I think it negates the entire idea of individuality. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. What's up, everyone? Will Cain here. Support for the Will Cain podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/will. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030. Okay, so hanging out with my buddy Kate Fagan here talking about the Shaun White press conference. Shaun White won his third gold medal last night, third in 4 Olympic cycles in snowboarding. He goes off of the snow. He walks off of the snow into a press conference where reporters are waiting. And he is asked at that press conference about 2-year-old sexual harassment allegations that were settled a year ago privately with the claimant. He's asked at this press conference, hey, what do you have to say about this incident? Hey, what do you have to say about these details? The details are gross. They're not good. If anyone wants to go read it on the Washington Post or somewhere else, they're not good. And he settled that case. Kate, you have laid out for me 2 reasons why you think it's appropriate in this setting at this time to ask him about these sexual harassment issues. You said, number one, the Olympic cycle is only every 4 years. That puts Shaun White into relevance only every so often, and this is the first real chance to put it under the light. And number two, both of which I thought were great. Why are you raising your eyebrows?
I'm like, does he remember the number 2?
Well, I'm pulling a Rick Perry. Hold on. Timing?
Did I have to?
You did. Oh, the making of an American hero. The NBC is engaged in hero making, all the pieces on Shaun White, the elevation of who he is, and it's an incomplete story. If you're going to build up the hero, tell the whole story.
Yep.
I think they're both really good reasons. I'm not sure they're what motivates reporters when they sit in that room. Of course, everybody has a right to ask whatever you want. It's a free press. It's a free country. You say what you think. You say it when you want to. But then there's the issue of appropriateness. And I'm telling you this. As a reporter sitting in that room, I would not have asked that question. And I wouldn't have asked that question because I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's the appropriate time or place. Here's why. I'm guessing to some extent, but the kind of things that motivate a reporter at that moment, I don't think are tied to newsworthiness and relevance. This is a year-old story. And while I understand your Olympic cycle argument that he's under the bright spotlight, we do have the X Games, every year. He is really famous. At any given time, he's not a football player, you're right, where his season is constantly in front of us, but he's the Tony Hawk of snowboarding. He's always relevant. He's always famous. I think the reporters are engaging in a couple of things. And I'm not going to say this about Matt Gutman because I don't know him, but I think when this happens, and it happened to Peyton Manning at his retirement press conference, you're either trying to get your moment. I got him with a big question. I got it. I drove the news cycle. I got the bites. I got the question. I was the one with the backbone. I was the one that got the thing that drove the news cycle. That's not about importance. That's about you. That's about you driving the story. That gives you notoriety. That gives you the gotcha moment. I think it also is a little bit of virtue signaling. I mean, I know we talk about that phrase a lot in society. It's like everybody wants to always prove how perfect they are. And the way that they do that is by pointing out how bad other people are. So if we can point to Shaun White and go, not so great, not so great, look what he did, somehow it makes us think that we are great, that we are virtuous. And then I think that reporters think they have this higher calling to do, and I think you started to allude to this, but like, no, let's get the conversation back on what it should be. The Me Too movement, the sexual harassment. Like, that's not the only conversation. That's an important conversation, but it's not the only conversation. And as you talked about when you root in sports, it's not even the only conversation when it comes to individuals. Every time we celebrate Shaun White, are we supposed to put the asterisk and have the parenthetical, oh, but he did this? And if the answer is no, then why in this moment? Why at his celebration moment? And I just think that things motivating reporters to want to do that at this moment have very little to do with relevance and newsworthiness and have to do with other things.
I actually don't disagree with you that I feel as if the reporter's motivation is often very similar to what you described. And I think I'll put that aside that I agree with that. I don't necessarily think that means that the question wasn't appropriate, though. We can certainly, as you laid out, we can discuss whether the reporters who asked that question were motivated by the right things. I don't think that it changes the appropriateness of the question, even if I debunk their motivations. If there was a reporter in there with purer motivations, and there was some way we could tell that, then does that make the question appropriate at that time?
Well, I just think if you go through that analysis and you say, why am I asking this question? You will arrive at the place of this is not the time or place for it. This is not the moment.
Right. Okay. So I think that let's go further with the motivation behind asking this question, because this is where I think it becomes about more than just Shaun White and about how many more of these athlete meeting the crossroads of past allegations, moments we deal with. Because I do think you're onto something with the motivation of reporters, because I feel like they've been placed in a media digital culture that is truly only rewarding the kind of like addictive outrage stories. And so they're now becoming facilitators of worrying about how much clicks and how many re-clicks and how much time spent is on their articles. And I think they know, and they've been told that
outrage drives that.
Yes. And so I do feel like the motivation is less.
We're not going to do that in New Texas.
That's right. And New York is going to be pure, and our motivations are going to be about free speech and like really deep discourse. It's going to be awesome. So I do like, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think it's mutually exclusive, that I do think it's an appropriate question to ask him. I do wish I felt as if it was driven with a real desire to actually talk about this. And I don't think it's driven. Nobody actually really wants to like engage and hear both sides of it. I think they just really want to get their clicks and their outrage, and anyone on the far end of either of it is not actually open to hearing what Shaun White has to say.
Right, and we are talking about this. The Me Too movement is at the front of every news page. It's at every news cycle. And so if we are talking about it, do we have to talk about it? My only point is, do we have to talk about it in every moment? Was this the moment to also talk about it?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, and I think when we say that we are talking about it, there's a part of me that would argue that like some people are allowed to talk about it. And not everybody's allowed to talk about it. And so how far are we really getting as a society if the people who might have other things to say about it aren't allowed a voice in the conversation, and then the next time this comes down the road, more people just want to climb onto the moral high horse, and we're not actually having an open conversation about it.
All right, I got to run. It's been fun having you.
You got other
here.
stuff you got to do.
Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
It's not cool. Stop doing that. Why? Because they're both white quarterbacks? No.
I would never do that.
Big 12, Texas guys? Stop. The Will Cain Show is reminding that you can watch all 3 hours of the show on ESPN News. Stop. Just because they're white guys from Texas who are a little on the height challenged side doesn't mean they're the same. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is Will Cain.
You can't walk through life that if something you say or something you champion offends one person, then you must stop, because you will not be able to do anything. That's right. That's why we're launching New Texas. I'm not even going to name myself president of New Texas. I just want to be a citizen of New Texas. My wife just texted me, by the way, and said, New Texas sounds like my nightmare. Because I've proposed the first 2 rules of New Texas will be on our little island in the South Pacific somewhere. I would prefer the South Pacific to the Caribbean, just so you guys know. I want a more lively ocean, one with more wave action, so South Pacific, okay? And the first 2 rules of New Texas will be, number 1, you're not allowed to be offended. And number 2, if you disagree, you must say it. Now, Bubba, you've proposed a 3rd rule, and you've proposed it specifically to Cerruti if he wants to come along to New Texas.
Right, because I think, you and I are on the same page, but Cerruti's a 49ers fan, but if he's going to join New Texas, he's got to be a Cowboys fan. Or at least just watch him constantly.
Because every bar in New Texas?
Yeah, so every bar is a Cowboys bar. So every TV on the Cowboys.
Okay, this sounds like a Cowboys cult now. I'm not really into this.
Well, it is a cult.
Texas, it's fine.
It's for sure a cult. That's what I want. I want the Willisha to turn into a cult just shy of Kool-Aid.
It was I like the good idea at the onset, and then it's these secondary rules that we're making now are starting to frighten me.
Well, I'm gonna, for the time being, Bubba, I'm gonna be like a George Washingtonian president. I'm gonna give up my presidency at some point because I don't want to be a dictator. You'll probably ask me, will you take the crown? And I'll be like, no, I shouldn't take the crown. But for the time being, I'm gonna veto your 3rd rule because as much as I love the Cowboys, I want this to be open to all people who are interested in not being offended.
Fine. They'll turn eventually.
Because by the way, like, if you're not allowed to be offended, but you must be a Cowboy fan, you're not going to be able to deal with Charles Haley. Listen to this.
I go over there and, I tell guys, I said, man, Jerry built this house for a bunch of damn losers. And they get mad. Yeah. They get mad. And I say,
but that's what it's been so far. It's 22 years since the Super Bowl.
You know what? They have to do something about it. I can't do anything about it. I can't play. I said, all I can do is give you some knowledge. And then, you know what? That ego's so big and they so busy getting on Twitter and Facebook and everything else. Hey, maybe they should get in that playbook. Maybe they should learn how to rush, catch, you know what, and block.
Stephen A. said this on First Take this morning. Charles sounds a little different there. Charles sounds a little off. I don't know. That was on 103.3 FM ESPN in Dallas. He reminds me, like when you had a drink or two and you have this conclusion, but it's a completely underwhelming conclusion. Listen to just the first 10 seconds and get to his conclusion. Watch this.
I go over there and, I tell guys, I said, man, Jerry built this house for a bunch of damn losers. And they get mad.
When you're drinking and you got that thing you're saying and it's got that climax and that build up and then here's the punchline. You're like, huh, yeah. And they get mad. Yeah, I bet they do when you call them a bunch of damn losers. Here's the thing. Man, I want to be mad. I want to be mad at Charles Haley. I'll be interested to hear what you think about this, Bubba. Man, I'm tired of it. Here's the thing. I'm tired of it. I have this complicated relationship with Jerry Jones, a guy I've never met, so it's all inside me. The relationship is all internal. But I love so much about Jerry. I mean, he's a risk-tolerant, wildcatting billionaire, says it like he feels it at the moment. It's often in run-on sentences, and the subject and the verb are often in the wrong place, and you can't keep up. But he's letting it fly. He's shooting from the hip, and I love so much about that. And I believe he loves the Cowboys, and I believe he wants them badly to be great, but on his terms. And the evidence at this point is too much for even a homer like myself to ignore. 20 years. All right, I want to tell you something. In 20 years, only 4 teams in the NFC have not had their turn in the Super Bowl. In 20 years, 12 out of 16 NFC teams have made the Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys, Washington Redskins, Detroit Lions, and Minnesota Vikings are the only teams in the NFC to not make the Super Bowl. That's not acceptable. It's not right. And the only through line is Jerry. Charles is wrong, man. I don't buy it. The players aren't a bunch of damn losers, and I don't buy this that they're not going the extra 10 yards on the wind sprint, or they're spending too much time on Twitter and Facebook. I don't buy that Ezekiel Elliott isn't trying, or that Dak isn't a hard worker. Get out of here with that. What it is a culture that lacks accountability. Because whether or not it was Chan Gailey or Dave Campo or Jason Garrett. The only exception is Bill Parcells. The only hire that Jerry Jones has ever made that was allowed to ignore him or to combat him. The only hire that could have ever lived in New Texas would have been Bill Parcells, because he did what he was going to do. And by the way, they got good during that run. They got good during Bill Parcells. But Jerry has a culture where average is good enough, because if it's not good, he'll just, like he said about Howard Johnson, if the food doesn't taste good, he'll heat it up so hot you can't tell. He'll crank up the marketing mechanism so hot you can't tell. And I'm tired of it. 2 playoff wins in 20 years. 25 teams in the NFL have won more than 2 playoff games over that time frame. Jerry is the problem. And I love him in so many ways, but he's the through line. We have to at first admit, like any addict, there's a problem. There's a problem in Dallas. This is not good enough. It's not good enough for America's team. And the only consistent thing through all the ups, all the downs, all the different administrations, the only consistent one is Jerry. That's it. What do you think, Bubba?
I agree. I think the most frustrating thing is I was really young during the Super Bowls in the 90s. So, yeah, for basically my adult lifetime, they've been this team. And the most frustrating thing, like you've said, is we've seen teams be bad and become good in that time.
12 of them.
All these other teams are doing it, and so what the Eagles just did. You see these teams doing it. The Falcons, all these teams are examples of, in these 20 years, they were really bad and they've gotten good, and we just haven't done it. And
the Rams, the Buccaneers, they've gone through cycles of awful to Super Bowl, back to awful, back to good again.
And we had those 4 years of 8-8 where they lost 3 straight years in the Week 17, winning you're in, and they lose every time.
So, Rudy, let's see if we can get somebody here who can speak to the Dallas Cowboys culture. See if I'm off base. Get a legend. No big ask. Go get a Cowboys legend. Great news for the Willisha. Watch us when you want. Download the ESPN app and just tap on the Watch tab to watch full episodes of The Will Cain Show whenever, wherever. You can do it, Rudy. You already scored Pat Beverley today. There's a lot of people that have had issues with me today, right? So Pat Beverley, LeBatard. We had Kate come in and disagree with me. Was this LeBatard, I guess, yesterday disagreed with something I had to say? Let's take all comers on. All right. And Johnny Manziel and Baker. Okay, I've talked about that several times. Let's do that. Stop comparing Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield. It's wrong. Okay? Straight ahead on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Was hanging out with Mark Teixeira the last couple of days. Mark Teixeira sat in studio both Monday and Tuesday with us. And so I didn't get to this at the time, and I wanted to talk to you about this. This came up on First Take, and with Johnny Manziel, as Dianna Russini told us a little bit earlier, Johnny Manziel went on Good Morning America earlier this week. He talked about the fact that he is bipolar, that he's dealt with alcohol issues, that, as Russini told us earlier, might be interested in coming into this spring league, this spring football league, to put himself back on NFL radar. There's these comparisons being made between Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel, and I don't get it. I mean, not to be on the, is this appropriate high horse all day? Is it appropriate to ask Shaun White this question? Is it appropriate but come on, man, bottom line, there's right and there's wrong. And the thing about it is, one of the through lines that I try to have in anything I do, and if you'll ever listen to any of my commentary on First Take, if you listen to my commentary today and you listen to the Will Cain Show, on any sensitive subject, if I'm criticizing an athlete on something he said, if I'm criticizing an athlete on an activist position they've taken, every time I do it, I want to be clear. My criticism is individual. It's about them. So take that personally if you want. But if I say you can't play, or if I say you don't know what you're talking about, I'm talking about you. You. I'm not talking about you as a symbol. I'm not talking about you as a member of a larger group. I'm not talking about you as a comparison to other people. And I think society is just taken with this right now. It's like everything we do. Oh, what are you a symbol of this? And what group are you a part of? I mean, we do it. Gender, race, political view. It's constant. Like, what group are you in? What group are you in? And that's not how I view the world. And I won't. I just won't do it. I won't do it. I'm going to try my best to see people in instances as individuals. And Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield are distinct individuals whose comparisons are such a stretch that it becomes a joke. What? They're both in the Big 12? What? Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield are both from Texas? What? They're both white? They both play quarterback? They're both... Are they under 6 foot? Right about 6 foot, whatever. They're known as generally shorter. I mean, what is the comparison here? They both got in some off-the-field trouble. They both have some maturity issues. Well, welcome to the club. Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel are completely different, both on and off the field. Johnny Manziel was a draw it up in the sandlot, don't follow the play, improvise, run for 1,400 yards, seemed to have that it factor quarterback at Texas A&M. Baker Mayfield is a spread quarterback, air raid quarterback who delivers the ball on time to the receiver it's intended and designed to. He can improvise. He only ran for 300 yards. He simply plays the position differently than Johnny Manziel. They're different. And off the field, because this is where people really want to compare them. Okay. Johnny's gotten in trouble off the field with alcohol. Johnny's gotten in trouble off the field with partying. Johnny's gotten in trouble for work ethic. Coaches say Johnny Manziel wasn't dedicated in the film room. Johnny Manziel wasn't dedicated in the playbook. Johnny wasn't there trying to be good. Nobody says that about Baker Mayfield. Nobody does. By every account, every coach, Baker Mayfield is absolutely dedicated in the film room, in the playbook, at practice, to becoming the best player he can be. If you really want to read into Baker Mayfield, off the field, he's a video game junkie who wanted to become like a professional Halo player. Now, yeah, he got, public intox charge in Arkansas? And so I guess now we start just drawing all the conclusions. But do you know how many players have Jameis Winston got in trouble off the field. How many different quarterbacks get in trouble off the field? Everyone. But you know why we're doing this? Honestly, it's because they resemble each other. Short, white, Texas quarterback. I mean, Stephen A. tried to make the argument to me this week on First Take. Listen.
The comparisons are absolutely fair. They're just not accurate. But they're fair.
Okay,
why?
You can't pause this.
Because guess what? Like you said, Will, both are white. Both look similar. Both got into issues as they were playing college football, although one was of a legal variety, other was just a little behavioral issue, or whatever the case may be. I happen to like Baker Mayfield. I think he should be one of the top players taken in the NFL draft.
First of all, if something is inaccurate, it's not fair. So Stephen A. says they're fair, but they're inaccurate. I don't agree. Those can't be the same. If it's inaccurate, it's unfair. And I think the argument that Stephen A. tried to make to me that day, and I was genuinely confused and told him as such, was essentially, it is what it is. It's reality. This is the comparison. People are making it. So you can look at it and then say, they're different, they're similar, whatever. But just because people are doing something doesn't make it right. Not every black quarterback should be compared to Cam Newton. Not every Euro basketball player should be compared to Dirk Nowitzki. And sometimes it's funny. We say every white wide receiver is lunch pail grit, blue collar guy. And when it's a black athlete, we always have to be talented and amazingly gifted. This is what we always do. And sometimes it's such a caricature that it's a joke. And it can be a joke in a legitimately harmless way. But when you start making comparisons based upon these rough sketches, these rough caricatures between two guys that I honestly think when it comes to Mayfield and Manziel that are so different, what you're doing is so unfair, it's hurting Mayfield. Because NFL execs could look and go, well, am I going to end up with Johnny Manziel? Nobody wants to draft Manziel. He was a bust because of his problems off the field. And if you're drawing that correlation to Mayfield, you're costing him money. It's not right. If it's inaccurate, it's unfair. It's unfair to black athletes. It's unfair to white athletes. It's unfair to human beings. Treat people as individuals. Judge them as individuals. That doesn't mean nicely or positively, even negatively, as individuals. All right, we got a legend, an 88. We got a Dallas Cowboy 88 on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast.
Thousands of athletes are going for the gold. And As the clear champions of the bathroom, Dollar Shave Club deserves a gold medal. Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to look, smell, and feel your best. Shampoo, body wash, toothpaste, and of course, the best razors you'll ever use. You get an amazing, high-quality shave every morning from the DSC Executive Razor, plus the true gold standard of any morning routine is their Dr. Carver's Shave Butter. It helps the razor gently glide across your skin. Dollar Shave Club delivers everything to you. That means no more trips to the store, wandering the aisles, hunting for razors, shampoos, and toothpaste, and then playing cashier, scanning and bagging your stuff. Go for the gold. Join the Dollar Shave Club today. And for just $5 with free shipping, you'll get the 6-blade Executive Razor plus trial sizes of shave butter, body cleanser, and one wipe Charlie's. Then keep the blades coming for a few bucks more a month. Get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/will. That's dollarshaveclub.com/will.
This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
What are the Dallas Cowboys going to do with Dez Bryant? Is it Dez's fault or Dak's fault? That seems to be the camps that everybody's dividing into. Well, if it wasn't for Dak, then Dez would have big numbers. If it wasn't for Dez, Dak would be easier to complete passes to downfield. I said before the show a little bit earlier, let's get somebody in here. Let's get a Cowboys legend. What's wrong with Dez? What's wrong with the Cowboys? What's wrong with the culture in Dallas that allows for 20 straight years and only two playoff wins? I mean, 12 of 16 teams in the NFC have been to the Super Bowl since the Cowboys have. They're one of 4 who haven't. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. So I think we do. I think we have a Cowboys legend to come in and set us straight. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $620. You know, Dez Bryant is number 88. He's number 88 because Michael Irvin was number 88. Michael Irvin was number 88 because Cowboys legends, Cowboys receiving legends wore 88. Why did they wear 88? Because Drew Pearson wore 88. Former Cowboys receiver and Ring of Honor member of the Dallas Cowboys, Drew Pearson, wore number 88, and he's on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line right now on the Will Cain Show. What's up, Drew?
Hey, what's up, Will Cain? How are you?
Really happy to meet you. Really happy to meet you. Was a legend for me growing up as a kid. Drew, what should the Cowboys do with the new 88? What should they do with Dez Bryant?
Well, that's like the $64,000 question around here right now.
Or the $16 million question, right?
$16 million. Yeah, there you go. More like. Can you imagine that kind of money? Boy, they paid us that kind of money back in the day, Will.
What did you, Drew? What did you make?
A lot more passes.
What was your? Do you mind telling me what was your total career earnings? You played from until 83 with the Cowboys, right? From what 70 to 83?
73 to 83.
And do you know
my first year salary as an undrafted free agent was $14,500 for the whole season. We played 14 games back then. My signing bonus as a free agent was $150. 150. They paid me in cash, 720s and a 10. That's how I got my signing bonus. And the good thing about that, I didn't have to report it since it was cash. I better be careful with that now, though. But no, I capped out at 250. Was $250,000 my 11th season with the Cowboys. I had played out that contract, was negotiating a new contract with them. The starting point, that's when the money started to happen. The salary started to go up significantly. The Cowboys had offered me $400,000. We were trying to get $500,000, at least $500,000. But I ended up having a car wreck, and my career ended at that point. But the salaries that they get now is because of the time we put in back in the day, Will, fighting the NFL owners and gaining the respect of the players union. I played 11 seasons. We were on strike 4 times within those 11 seasons, and we had the work stoppage. That's when we really gained respect in the union, and the gross revenues changed at that point. That was back in 1982. I missed 6 games off of my NFL career because of that strike in 82. But it paid off. And it paid off big for the players nowadays, and we as former players are benefiting somewhat from that. because our pension benefits increase as the collective bargaining and the dollars increase through collective bargaining.
So now you hear Des Bryant's scheduled to make $16 million next year, but there are reports that the Cowboys might want him to take a pay cut, or he could be cut. What do you think?
Yeah.
At this point in his career, should Des be playing under that old contract?
Well, as far as his play, it doesn't equal that type of pay. Okay, the production doesn't equal the salary. So, but the salary's there. It's hard for me to sit here and say, hey, Des needs to take a pay cut. They were willing to pay Des that money, then go ahead, Des, take it, play, try to get it back, work hard this offseason, get with Dak, get your timing down, and let's get back to old form as much as we can this upcoming season. But, it's a business, and Des has to understand that. And sometimes in this business, when you sign a long-term contract, that there's a possibility at the end of that contract, you're not going to be making the same money that contract calls for.
Well,
so
why?
You might end up having to take a pay cut.
Well,
and
in your estimation,
yeah,
Drew, why is his production down? I watch every Cowboys play, every down, every year. He's not getting separation. That seems to be the consensus when he runs his routes, and there's criticism of his route running. But why is his production down?
I think it's a number of things. I think it's the route running. It's Des himself. I think he's maybe lost a step or not as fluid in his motions and his route running. Some of that probably has to do with the injuries. It's just not one injury. It's the accumulation of injuries that has caused the problem for Des and put him in a position now where he has to make an adjustment as a receiver to take advantage of what he has left and make it work for him. Every receiver has. Look at Larry Fitzgerald. He reinvents himself each and every season. And, that's what Des has to do. Larry Fitzgerald is not the same receiver he was or same abilities he has athletically that he had when he came in as a rookie. Time takes its toll, and it takes its toll on everybody, but he's made the adjustments. That's what Des has to do. The other thing is the quarterback. He has to get with the quarterback. Their timing. They don't appear to be working enough to get the timing down. It's a repetition type thing for a quarterback and wide receiver. Over and over. I don't care how many times you run the same route, you got to run it even more. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. And while you're doing that, the quarterback is gaining confidence in you. That's how Roger and I developed that rapport. That's how Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman developed that rapport. And the other thing, the third and final thing, is the offense. That is one stagnant offense.
Right.
We are the only team in the league that cares so much about a back shoulder fade. I mean, God, we run that like it's the key play in our offense, especially around by the goal line. And we run it with the least perfection of probably any team in the NFL. But we run it over and over. So we got to get a little more variety in the offense. Take advantage of not just what Des does and what his capabilities might be now, but the rest of the receivers as well. All the receivers across the board, their production all went down this past season. And, when you got a young quarterback out there, the receivers have to step up. You talk about a radius that the receivers, that quarterback throws that ball in, and if he's thrown to you within that radius, you got to come up with the catch, and every Roger Staubach, let me put it like this. Roger Staubach never, ever threw me a bad pass. If it wasn't a completion, it was my fault. And I let Roger know that. And that's because, I wanted him to continue to throw to me and continue to have that confidence in me. So if we get those three things, Des improve his route running, spend some time doing that. He and Dak get together and run their routes, get their timing down, and that offense needs to dust off and come up with some new plays because everybody in the league knows exactly what the Cowboys are going to do with their passing game.
Then hopefully we'll be back on track. All right, listen, people can hate you for this or they can love you for this, but you're the reason Cowboys fans are so entitled. You guys and what you did and what the guys did in the 90s, that's why we're entitled, because of what you did. All right, I appreciate the time, Drew.
You got it. Thanks, Will.
That's former Cowboys receiver and Ring of Honor member Drew Pearson. The Will Cain Show is reminding that you can listen to all 3 hours of the show on your phone on the ESPN app. Coming up, as I've said throughout the day, we need to pump the brakes and all this love for the new Cavs. 2 games, people. 2 games. That's next on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Hi, everyone. Will Cain here. Support for the Will Cain podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/will. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030. Just a moment, Brian Windhorst is going to jump in here and talk to me about the Cavs, what's going on. I mean, it's been a big knockdown, drag-out debate all day today. And apparently it's completely, I don't know, outlandish, or it's a hot take to say, 2 games into this deal, I'm not sure you should pin the Cavs into the NBA Finals. Just not so sure you should do that. That has met with significant opposition. Significant. Stephen A. Smith, for one, says he's seen enough.
It's just 2 games. A lot of people talk about there's nothing to get too excited about. I don't look at it that way. I don't view things that way. I know basketball. I know talent when I see it. I know when talent is gelling. And I'm saying Cleveland is something to look forward to. I'm of the mindset right now they'll cakewalk through the East.
Okay.
Because when you add 3 25-year-olds and an experienced point guard like George Hill, when you have that at your disposal, when you have that available to you, you have upgraded exponentially. And if you've done that, how are we to look at the rest of the East? In Boston, Kyrie they don't have any depth. Toronto with DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, you don't know whether you can trust them. The Washington Wizards got emotional issues. Who's going to stand in the way of the Cavs? The Cavs are going, if they cakewalked last year through the Eastern Conference, why wouldn't they do it this year?
Because
Kyrie's in Boston, that's all you got. That ain't good enough.
Because Kyrie's not in Cleveland. I mean, this is so, I could drive an 18-wheeler through these arguments, and somehow this is a hot take to say 2 games is enough. I could drive an 18-wheeler through these arguments. Okay, number 1, why are the Cavs not a lock to win the East? Number 1, this should be easy. Let's just do this. Right down the center line, keep it on the highway. They've been together for 2 games. 2 games. Yeah, they're young. Yeah, Rodney Hood is 6'8". Yeah, they're athletic. They've been together for 2 games. Chemistry, pressure, playoffs, monotony. All of that is yet to be known. Pat Beverley, Los Angeles Clippers, tough guy, defender extraordinaire. As he pointed out, excellent role player. I happen to agree. Pat Beverley called into the show. Said, I don't know what I'm talking about. And said basically LeBron and role players, really good role players, is a guarantee into the finals. I'm sorry. I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that's good enough analysis. And I think that Stephen A's point about Kyrie being in Boston doesn't have to be an argument for Boston. Boston's missing pieces, clearly. Gordon Hayward, for one. But it's an argument against Cleveland. It's an argument against Cleveland. They don't have a massive chip. I'm not saying that like, championship, like it's cool to say a chip. You'll never catch me saying championship and calling it a chip. Never. I'm talking about like asset, chip. They don't have that. They don't have Kyrie Irving. Okay, they got 4 new guys, and they're good. Let's see how they come together. You don't know, Stephen A. said, about Toronto. You don't know. Well, I know more about Toronto than I do this Cleveland team. I know that. I know that this Toronto team is different than the one that got swept last year by the Cavs. I know that the Toronto Raptors, even though they're still led by DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, are playing a different brand of basketball. Now, forgive me for reading stats. It might imply I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to basketball, hard facts and all. But the Raptors move the ball in a way they never have. More passes per possession, more assists, more three-point shooting. They're playing a better brand of basketball than they have in the last 2 years. Now, in crunch time, in the playoffs, will they revert to DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry ISO plays? Maybe. But you don't know what the Cavs are going to revert to. You don't know. You have 2 games. And I'm not going to wave my hand at the argument of LeBron plus some role guys, but I just don't think it's enough. I don't think that's an answer. I don't think that's the argument of the guy who says, I know basketball. Because if that's the case, everybody knows basketball. Everybody makes that argument. You don't have special knowledge if everybody has the knowledge. Saying, and that's honestly what Pat Beverley's argument was to me, LeBron is a guarantee into the finals. Well, that's not special knowledge. That's common knowledge. Everyone says it, which makes it unspecial. And to me, inadequate. Tim in Ohio, you're on the Will Cain Show.
Hey, Will, nice to talk to you. So you guys are saying, I've heard it all day long, that it's just been 2 games. Well, yesterday it was, it's only been 1 game. But they got 4 players that haven't played with together except for, obviously, Clarkson and Nance. But they go into Boston and beat Boston handedly. And then they go into OKC and control the whole game, led the whole game except for right in the beginning of the fourth quarter. So I'm just curious on when it's going to, this whole, it's been 3 games, it's only been 4 games, when all that's going to stop.
Okay, stay on the line, Tim. This is an easy one to answer. It's a layup, okay? Thank you. By the way, you tune in and you think everybody all day saying 2 games, 2 games? We're listening to different people because I wake up this morning, I hear everybody going, real threat, possible threat to the Warriors, cakewalked into the East, lock for the NBA Finals. That's what I feel like everybody's doing off of 2 games. You feel like everybody's dismissing 2 games?
Not everybody. I'm just saying I've heard that quite a bit today. The only person I haven't heard of is from Stephen A.
Okay, well, then you're asking too much, Tim. You're asking us to coronate you guys on 2 games, and if somebody draws some question marks, you feel like we're making a victim of you. That's not what's happening here.
I'm not saying write it in. What I am saying is this whole it's only been 2 games. Don't jump on the bandwagon.
Okay, listen, here's what you've got in 2 games. Here's the credit first. Here's the credit. They've been awesome in these 2 games, and you're right. And I'm shocked at how well they've come together this fast. And I didn't do this mockingly, and I didn't do it sarcastically. LeBron deserves a ton of credit for integrating 4 guys into their roles in record time. This team is markedly better than the one it was. And this team, by the way, is a threat to win the East. The other one wasn't. The other one wasn't going to win the East, and we didn't have to analyze the competition. But here's what I say when I say the 2 games, okay? And you say, well, when's that going to end? When's your analysis going to end? When it looks like something you can reasonably expect from them. Because J.R. Smith is shooting 70% right now. I know I'm going to do the stats thing, and everybody's like, oh, all you do is the stats because you can read it. You're supposed to feel it. J.R. Smith is shooting 70%. He's shooting 69 from 3. Is that going to continue? Because that ain't what he's done all season. Rodney Hood is shooting 52% and 50 from 3. That's not what he's done all season. Jordan Clarkson shooting 62 and 57 from 3. That's not what he's done all season. They're shooting the lights out. They're the best team. They're the best shooting team in the league for 2 games. Best 3-point shooting team in the league for 2 games. By the way, they're playing amazing D. They're number 1 in the league on defense on opponent's field goal percentage. Are these realistic stats for the Cavs? Is Tim still there? Are those realistic stats for the Cavs?
No, not all the way.
Okay.
So what you're saying is you're looking for trust.
Well,
the reason that trust through a course of a period. Like we won 18 games in a row, and then what happened?
Okay, yes, I'm saying let this thing settle into normalcy. You don't know what that is yet. Not to mention you don't know what the playoff combinations are. Not all these guys, by the way, are going to get the minutes when it comes to an 8-man rotation. This is just not real yet. I mean, it's real, it's good, but it's not normal. And sooner or later, you have to figure out what normal is. Normal will not be this good. That's the thing. Even though you'll get Kevin Love back, it won't be this good. Because this is phenomenal. This is the best. And I don't think this Cavs team's the best in the league. It's good. It's not the best. I'm really interested to see what normal will look like for the Cavs. The Will Cain Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Coming up, let's ask Brian Windhorst. Is he all in on this new look Cavs? And this idea of what the Lakers, should they start to think about what they should do with Lonzo Ball? Should they think about trading Lonzo Ball? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. So I guess the Levitard Show disagreed with something I had to say the other day. Is that what happened? It's Rudy?
They didn't like your fear-based organization. They didn't like you and Teddy's take on the Patriots.
No, they don't like,
well, they don't like you and they don't like Teddy. That's probably what
so then yeah, don't like me, don't like Teddy.
Could have ended that sentence a little bit earlier.
Combination. All right, I heard you had some audio on that, so we'll get that straight ahead. Hear what that was all about. But joining me now, ESPN NBA insider on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio, Brian Windhorst. He's on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app, join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Brian, so what? Everything's okay in Cleveland now?
I mean, it's LeBron is re-engaged, so that's a huge thing. That's not minor and not easy. So, I think when you go back and look, the Cavs are on a 4-game win streak. 2 of the wins happened before the new players arrived. And that's the reason, is because that was when LeBron decided to start hitting the gas again. So, the players that were traded to them were traded because they had flaws. Either their contracts didn't match their production, or the team didn't want to pay them, or they were having an underproductive season. And so, they've been good, and I think the Cavs improved in several areas, but, we still got a long way to go before we can declare this team as having arrived.
Yeah, I feel like that's the argument I've been trying to make today and have been met with some level of, well, let's call it pushback. But like you just said, by the way, about the players, they were traded because they have flaws. We're yet to see over the course of a season of playoffs how that will show up, because they're playing lights out as individuals and as a team over the last 2 games.
Well, look, like Jordan Clarkson is an interesting player because, this is a guy that, the Lakers were having trouble trading, not because they couldn't find anybody, but because they couldn't trade him for players that had expiring contracts. And people will say, well, Jordan Clarkson doesn't defend, and Jordan Clarkson doesn't shoot from distance as well as you'd like. That's fine. If Jordan Clarkson is your 5th best player, you're going to be a pretty good team. If you're not relying on him to deliver every single night, more importantly, in every single playoff game, and you can live with it and be happy when he delivers in 2 games in the series or 3, or like in this week, the Cavs, he had 2 really good games in a row. Maybe the next 2 games aren't going to be so good. If he's your 5th best player, you're pretty good. If you're relying on him as your 2nd best player or your 3rd best player, your outlook is different. So, so I think it fits better in Cleveland for Jordan Clarkson. No, not everybody likes his contract, okay, but that's not really relevant to the Cavs right now. They didn't sign him to it. So, and I think I think you can present both ways, but I definitely think you can't make any assumptions about the Cavs based on 2 games. They haven't even really had any sort of adversity yet with this group.
Right. So I heard through the grapevine, my producers told me, I think, during the commercial break, did you on the Stephen A. Smith show say something like LeBron's options this summer could be more limited than everybody's anticipating? Something like that?
Yeah, I don't think as we sit here today, it's important to qualify it like that because in the NBA things change very quickly. But as we sit here today, I don't see a major threat where it's like a green light, like that's a no-brainer. You got to go. And I think that was a factor in how the Cavs have related to him this year because, look, if on July 1st Paul George announces, I'm going to go play for the Lakers, and they've got another max slot there, boy, that changes the lay of the land, doesn't it? But as we sit here today and Paul George is batting his eyes at the Thunder, I don't think there's not a Miami out there. Heck, there's not even a Chicago. Back in 2010, Chicago had a very compelling offer. There's not a team that has the match of cap space and an ideal talent to play with LeBron, and I think that's a factor in the way the Cavs have approached this year.
Is Philadelphia not the closest to checking both of those boxes?
Let me tell you why not. Number one, LeBron and Ben Simmons are very similar players, and they're represented by the same agent, and I'm not so sure that those 2 guys really align with each other. Not in a personal level. I'm talking about in a game level. But Ben Simmons is a guy who has to have the ball in his hands. Secondly, I don't know if LeBron James, with his son being 13 years old and his sons being very important to him, I don't know if he wants to move his whole family and his whole life to Philadelphia, a city he's not familiar with and never lived in. Now, maybe he will. I don't know. He's lived in Los Angeles. He has a second home here. He's lived in Miami. If you want to make me cases for those places, I'll listen. But to ask LeBron to move him and his family on a gambit unless it's like a grand slam, boy, there's a perfect role for him sitting there. I don't see that.
Well, did that take Houston off the table as well, or Houston is that grand slam perfect role you're talking about?
Well, I would never put anything past Daryl Morey because Daryl Morey could probably have the presentation where he could get in his prime Michael Jordan, reanimated Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, Chris Paul. He could all get him to play for the minimum, and it would all work out. I mean, so I'm not going to put anything past him. That said, they don't have, again, you're going to put him with Chris Paul and James Harden. These are guys who need the ball.
A lot of guys. Yep.
Not only that, they don't have the cap space. So again, if on July 1st Chris Paul stands up and says, "Hey, I'm going to take a $5 million mid-level exception," LeBron come in and have the max contract, or LeBron announces on July 1st, "Hey, I don't want that $36 million max. I'll take 15, and Chris Paul can have 15, and we could all be happy." Again, if those things happen, we'd have a different discussion. But I'm just saying here, I don't see the huge, wide-open threat.
Well, okay, that brings us full circle back, though. If not Cleveland, then that brings us full circle back to Los Angeles. You brought up if Paul George lands in L.A., that changes the equation. Do you think LeBron needs to see that domino fall first before he could commit? So if they have 2 max cap spots, does he need the other one taken before he would commit to L.A.?
Absolutely. When he went to Miami, it was after LeBron re-signed and Bosh was committed. When he went to Cleveland, they had Kyrie there, and they knew they were going to get Kevin Love. I mean, the Kevin Love domino fell later, but he had them both. What the Lakers really need to have is they need to have one of these last 3 second number 2 picks. One of them needed to be an absolute can't miss stud, and they just don't have it. Now Brandon Ingram, there are people, including the Lakers, they believe Brandon Ingram's going to be an all-star, and he might be, but you can't look at Brandon Ingram right now and say Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns. Well, you can look at it and say, boy, they hit a grand slam on that. I got to go play with that guy. They don't have it. And so LeBron's not going to be the first piece of a championship puzzle. He prefers to be the last piece.
Okay, I've only got like a minute, but I want to ask you this real quick as long as we're talking about L.A. What do you think Lonzo Ball's status is inside that organization right now? I mean, is he safe? Is he part of their future? No doubt about it?
I don't there's very few people in any organization, there's no doubts. I think that Lonzo has not had as good of a year as they had hoped. But I also know that it's a mistake to judge a rookie after his first year.
No, it's about his dad, man. It's about his dad.
Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, if he plays well, his dad doesn't matter. The reason that we're talking about his dad is because he has not played that well. If he had played up to the level of like a Donovan Mitchell, let's say, or a Ben Simmons, we wouldn't care about his dad. That's really the bottom line.
I don't know, man. That stuff about yanking him off if you didn't get the brothers on. Now you're starting. That's the kind of stuff that we've gone over. I mean, he's always over the edge, but that becomes real. I feel like that becomes the kind of thing a front office goes, I don't need this. I don't need this at all.
Would they trade him for LeBron James? Yeah, they would trade him for LeBron James. They would trade him for a lot of people, but
right.
That offer is on the table as far as I know.
All right. ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks for your time, Brian.
Thanks, Will.
All right, coming up. All right, so Teddy and I said something. Lebitard and Stugotz disagree. Let's hash it out. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. The Lane Johnson quote where he says, not to be reckless, but I'd much rather have fun and win a Super Bowl than be miserable and win 5 Super Bowls.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Easy there, Lane Johnson.
Life is full of little surprises. Some of them are pleasant, some of them are unpleasant. Teddy Bruschi has been just such a pleasant surprise in the life of the Will Cain Show. We had no idea that we would get so much personality, so much opinion, and so much hanging out. Through the intense stare and the fear, the honest-to-God fear that he instills in you, you come out the other side of that, and there's some humor and some humanity. I am on Team Teddy.
Well, calling out Lane Johnson wasn't even the best thing he said that day. He came in hot off of NFL Live.
Guns hot. You want to tell him what you're talking about?
Yeah, he said he pointed at the TV and it was a replay of NFL Live, and he had asked you and Tex if you had ever looked at a guy on TV and wondered if he had to go to the bathroom. And he informed us that he had to go to the bathroom for 30 minutes while sitting at the NFL Live desk. So you asked him.
I said, what kind? Number one or number 2? And I thought, this is the moment. This is it. This is the one where Teddy finally gets me. This is the one where he comes over the table. And he said you had to drop a deuce. So that's what it does.
Hey, it's fair. You got to do it.
Teddy Bruschi, truth teller. This is the truth he told, by the way, about Lane Johnson and the Patriots being a fear-based organization.
Coming from a guy that's failed going back-to-back once and then succeeded going back-to-back once, it takes a lot more, fellas, than planned end zone celebrations, dog masks, and trick plays to go back to back. So if you think it's going to be all
That's
fun
fired.
to win another championship next year, you got it all wrong. It takes serious men. It takes serious conversations. It takes serious practices, goal setting, all of that stuff. So he's going to see how hard it is.
That's a good title. Like for the Teddy Bruschi movie, the Lifetime channel Teddy Bruschi movie, the title should be A Serious Man. He's a serious man. Here's a challenge. Who's more serious? Mark Teixeira or Teddy Bruschi? They're both serious men.
Teixeira.
Teixeira's more serious?
Definitely.
Am I a serious man?
No. I think people would think you are.
They would think that?
Yeah.
He's a serious man. Okay. So I didn't hear this. We were hanging out with Tex the last couple of days. LeBatard show, heard that take, heard my take. My take was what? Essentially, that if you want to have long runs, if you have big organizations like the military, football teams, many men, you have to get in line, pushing forward toward the same, objective. Fear. Honestly, a fear-based organization is the proven model. Not love. Don't show me the Army based on love, the football team that has multiple titles based on love and, yucking it up in good times. I'm sorry. I'm telling you, it's not, I'm not championing the idea of it. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is. The LeBatard show didn't think so.
So Will Cain and Teddy Bruschi were together, and Will Cain had some opinions on this as well. And I think we can all agree, right? Will Cain and Teddy Bruschi, it's like Ray Shremmerd, right? Or Migos. Like, in terms of fun, they're having a great deal of fun.
Wow.
I hate that thought process.
Yeah, that's
so
the whole
much.
culture credo. The Warriors really seem to be fear-based.
Well, but they've got the best players, so that's not, yes, the Warriors with their DJs,
coaching themselves.
the Warriors coaching themselves do not seem terribly fear-based, and it's the best thing we've ever seen. But they need to be put off to the side because,
Okay.
I it doesn't matter whether
fears the players there.
it doesn't. They all fear Draymond. It is a fear-based organization. They all fear Draymond.
Wait. So this is good. This ties into the whole serious man thing. What with the first part about me and Teddy having fun and Migos? I didn't get that. What was that? Can someone explain that to me? I'm too serious to understand that.
For the culture? I don't know.
I didn't get that though.
That was before they played your audio clip.
Teddy and I are very. What was it? Are they being sarcastic? Because that was the day Teddy was talking about dropping deuces.
Well, they didn't hear that part.
Yeah, they didn't listen to that part.
We're having a
Didn't
lot
fit
of
their
fun over
argument.
here, fellas. Grand old time. So yeah, you do have to set the Warriors aside. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you set basketball aside. How much fun were the Bulls having in the 90s? Honestly, they weren't having fun. No, I take that back. They weren't having fun. You think Jordan was instilled a culture of the 90s Bulls that they were just all having a grand old time? I guarantee you they were terrified to come to work. Terrified to fail Michael Jordan's expectations. Man, there ain't no way. The Golden State Warriors may be the exception. Maybe they're the exception that proves the rule. Golden State Warriors look like they're having some fun. They're also way more talented than everybody else in the NBA. Way more. So are they the non-fear-based institution that's really been able to have long-term staying power, a dynasty? The Cowboys, by the way, somebody brought up the Cowboys of the 90s. They had a lot of fun off the field. That's not what we're talking about. Teddy talked about the Patriots have fun off the field. By the way, I have firsthand knowledge of some of that fun. I've partaken in some of that fun. And so you want to roll out Lane Johnson? Okay, you give me Lane Johnson, I see your Lane Johnson and raise you a Larry Izzo. What do you got on me now? I guarantee this, you ain't got nothing on me, okay? So the Pats had some fun off the field. So not when you show up in the locker room, you had fear for your job, fear for your consistent membership in that team. That's what the fear's about. Your role, your job, whether or not you're going to stay employed and if somebody's coming to get you. That's what that fear is about. Constant on edge of doing the right thing or being out. And the Cowboys and the 90s, they had that. They had fun off the field. They had that. We're all in this together, fellas. We're having fun. Relax. It's not that big a deal. It's all love. Show me that dynasty. Show me that army. Happy to be proven wrong. If the Golden State Warriors are what proves me wrong, I think I'm going to require 2 examples. The Will Cain Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Hey, stick around for the show afterwards for Spain and Fitz. Jason thinks the media sat on the Shaun White story to bring it up during the Olympics. That'll be interesting to hear. All right, go download the podcast. It was awesome today. Pat Beverley brought it, called in, told me all the ways I don't know what I'm talking about. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast.